Hey everyone, welcome back to Financial Futures, your source for the latest news on Social Security benefits. Today is April 1, and that means new payments are going out to Social Security recipients. If you're on SSI benefits, your payments have risen to $943 for individuals and $1,415 for couples. This is not an April Fool's joke, these payments are happening today. Now, let's talk about the payment schedule for April. The first payment will be on Wednesday the 10th, the second payment on Wednesday the 17th for birthdays between the 11th and the 20th, and the third payment on Wednesday the 24th for birthdays between the 21 and the 31. But that's not all the news we have today. Bernie Sanders and Democrats have introduced a bill that would boost Social Security benefits for every single recipient. Bernie Sanders recently said, "Our job is not to cut Social Security. Our job is to expand Social Security so that every senior in America can retire with the dignity they deserve." Here is Bernie Sanders talking about Social Security Expansion Act bill.
Senator Sanders, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Now, you held a hearing in February addressing what you're calling a retirement crisis in the U.S. What do you see as the key reasons for retirement access declining?
Well, what we've been seeing in many decades now is a massive shift of income and wealth from the bottom 90% to the top 1%. We have seen workers earning very low wages, not keeping up with inflation. We have seen defined benefit pension plans done away with. And for many seniors in this country, Social Security is just not doing it. The sad truth is that while we often think of ourselves as the wealthiest nation on earth, the reality is that in terms of our social safety net for working people and low-income people, we are behind many, many other countries. We have one of the highest rates not only of childhood poverty, but of poverty for senior citizens as well. So we need to do some fundamental rethinking to make sure that in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, our seniors can retire with dignity.
Well, Senator, talk us briefly through your proposed plan to improve retirement access.
Well, for a start, we need major reforms in Social Security. Right now, about a quarter of seniors are living on less than $15,000 a year. That is unimaginable. About half are living under $30,000 a year. And I don't know how you do that, the high cost of healthcare and prescription drugs. So first of all, we have to reform Social Security. What does that mean? It means that right now, if you are making millions of dollars a year, you pay into the Social Security Trust Fund the same amount of money as somebody making $168,000 a year, because there's a cap on Social Security taxes. So we have introduced legislation which has a number of co-sponsors, which lifts the cap on all taxable income. If you do that, you can increase Social Security benefits by about $2,400 for seniors, and importantly, extend the solvency of Social Security for another 75 years. So that's a very important and obvious thing that has to be done.
Senator, let's pause for one moment. I just want to remind people we're here with Independent Senator Bernie Sanders, also with us Rachel Gressler with the Heritage Foundation, and Professor Teresa Ghilarducci, author of Work, Retire, Repeat. I'm Jen White. You're listening to 1A. Senator, go ahead.
All right. Well, so I think that's number one. Number two, we've got to work very hard to bring back defined benefit pension plans. A few generations ago, if somebody worked at an auto plant, we had an auto worker coming before us. If her grandparents, when they retired, had a defined benefit pension plan, they knew what they were getting and would get for the rest of their lives. Unfortunately, over the years, those plans have been done away with and have been replaced by a variety of other plans, bottom line, which are not providing the security that seniors need.
Many presidents have tried to address Social Security's long-term solvency issue without success. Why do you think we haven't seen more movement, Senator?
Well, it's the same old story. Right now, we have a fairly corrupt political system in which big money plays an enormously important role. And at the top of the list for wealthy individuals, for the billionaire class, is the desire not to pay any more in taxes. So what we're saying is, right now you have an absurd situation that a working person pays 6.2% of their income in Social Security taxes, but if you're a billionaire, you pay a fraction of that. So they resist clearly for the people on top. They don't want to pay their fair share of taxes. In fact, they want to even lower their tax burden. And that is the major obstacle that we're facing.
We got this email from Virginia who says, I read that over the past decades, the government has borrowed money from the Social Security coffers, and this is one reason the fund is in jeopardy of running out. If this is true, I think the government agencies that borrowed from Social Security should be required to pay it back. Senator, what would you say to Virginia?
That's not accurate. Social Security Trust Fund, I mean, there are accounting issues there, I guess, but at the end of the day, we know what is in the Social Security Trust Fund. And it is not being stolen, despite mythology, by other agencies.
Well, I want to bring our other guests back in to hear your thoughts about Senator Sanders' plan. Rachel, your thoughts?
Yes, well, I'd like to congratulate Senator Sanders first for being willing to talk about this and for actually having the only proposal in Congress that would make the program solvent. I don't think that it will be palatable enough, the size of the tax increases, certainly not to get any conservatives on board, and probably some of the more liberal lawmakers would be skeptical of that as well. But at least it puts a stakeholder out there about here is something that would, at least on paper, make the program solvent. I think one of the problems, though, is when you kind of use up so many of the tax increases that have been proposed on the wealthy for just one program in Social Security, it's really not leaving anything left to address our existing deficits, less yet the progressive agenda. And if you increase taxes 100% tax rate on people earning over $200,000, it would only pay for half of what progressives have proposed. And so I just think that there's a limit to how much those taxes can cover.
And Teresa, your thoughts? I want to hear from the senator after this.
Sure. Rachel and I aren't lawmakers. We're economists, or at least I'm an economist, and the numbers work out. The numbers will help actually reduce our sky-high poverty levels, and there's enough money out there. As an economist, I can say the levels that we're talking about of tax increases will not affect the incentive to hire people, to create jobs, or affect the productivity of our economy. So from that perspective, there's plenty of money, and it's a very sound plan.
Senator, we're at the start of an election year that will only get more intense. 52% of registered voters are 50 and older. That's according to the Pew Research Center. Do you have any hopes that that will motivate actors on both sides of the aisle to find some way to come together and solve this issue? Do you have hope that that could happen?
Well, I hope so. I surely do. I think the point that has to be made, which is not made often enough, is while we are the wealthiest country in the history of the world, we are also at a moment where we have unprecedented levels of income and wealth inequality. And the simple reality is that I think most people understand is the people on top are doing phenomenally well. They have never, ever had it so good. And yet 60% of our people are working paycheck to paycheck. Some 45% of older workers have nothing in the bank as they face retirement. People can't afford the high cost of prescription drugs. They can't afford healthcare. Housing costs are going up. So I would hope that candidates in both parties say, you know what this election should be about is a debate as to how we can help working families, the elderly, and our children as well.
This bill, known as the Social Security Expansion Act, would provide an extra $200 per month to every Social Security recipient. This is a significant increase that could make a real difference in the lives of millions of Americans. But why haven't we seen more movement on this bill? Well, as Bernie Sanders pointed out, our political system is fairly corrupt, with big money playing an enormous role. The wealthy don't want to pay their fair share of taxes, which is a major obstacle to passing legislation like this. However, with the upcoming election, there may be more motivation for lawmakers to come together and solve this issue. 52% of registered voters are 50 and older, and they are a powerful voting bloc that could push for action on Social Security. So, what are your thoughts on Bernie Sanders' bill? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to see what Republican senators are saying about Social Security and their plan in the Senate, check out this video here. That's all the news I have for you today. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more updates on Social Security and other financial news. Take care, be safe, and I'll see you in the next video.